Hi everyone, and welcome to the Ouachita News Show. I'm Caroline Derby here with my co-anchor Izzy Bond, and we've got the latest Ouachita news for you.
Thanks, Caroline. We've made it through 3 weeks on campus, and we are looking forward to the rest of the semester.
Absolutely, Izzy. Ouachita has been updating students periodically on the number of COVID-19 cases on campus, and as of August 31st, there are fewer than 5 active cases. We will also continue to update you on this each week.
Well, it's not just Caroline and I in the studio today. Our own Blythe Epp has the weather for you, Ouachita.
Good morning, Ouachita Weather Watchers. This is Blythe Epp with your 5-day weather report for this week. The high for today, Wednesday the 2nd, looks like it's going to be in the mid-80s with a 60% chance of precipitation. A few clouds as well as thunderstorms will scatter in throughout this humid Wednesday, so don't forget your umbrella for this afternoon. Thursday starts out with a few thunderstorms rolling through the morning and a 40% chance of rain. The thunderstorms should clear up by the afternoon, so the majority of the day will be cloudy with a high of 82 degrees. Moving on to Friday the 4th, we have another mostly cloudy day with a high being at 84. The Arkadelphia area is predicted to have a 40% chance of rain with a thunderstorm in parts of the area. The weekend always brings good news, and the weather is no exclusion, with Saturday being mostly sunny and a high of 85 degrees. With that, there's only a 14% chance of rain throughout the day on Saturday. Rounding out the week, with Sunday we have a high of 89 degrees and a 21% chance of precipitation. The 6th should be mostly sunny along with a few scattered clouds throughout the day. Well, that concludes your 5-day weather report. Predictions are by AccuWeather. This is Blythe Epp with the weather forecast for the week, whether you like it or not.
Thanks, Blythe. The pandemic has provided many challenges for everyone, but especially for our international students. Ouachita News reporter Brianna Watson had a chance to learn exactly how COVID has affected international students here at Ouachita.
This summer, the college world was abuzz with arguments concerning whether or not students should return back to campus this semester due to the recent coronavirus pandemic.
While all undergraduates in the U.S. would ultimately be affected by the rise of COVID-19, international students fared differently, with border shutdowns and ICE immigration laws increasing the level of difficulty for them to study in the United States. International students at Ouachita have faced their own set of challenges this year, like Hamza Balali from Casablanca, Morocco, who arrived last semester to study computer science through an exchange program.
Well, my first semester was very fun and enjoyable, but unfortunately with the coronavirus it was cut right in the middle.
After multiple conversations between faculty from the Grant Center and his parents, it was decided that he would make the switch and become a transfer student halfway through the spring semester of 2019. However, phone calls between him and his parents soon revealed that restrictions in his home country had increased at an alarming rate, with border closure commencing on March 15, 2020.
They started very early with installing a curfew. That is like 7 p.m. everyone should be at home. And if you want to go out to work or to buy groceries or to buy medicine or something, you need to have a permit with you.
Traveling between cities was also prohibited during this time, and the wearing of masks was nationally mandated as well. One of the most difficult decisions for an international student to make can be leaving their parents and family for extended periods of time, sometimes for up to a year or more. With the rise of the pandemic, this difficulty was intensified, leaving Hamza's parents worried for the future and his safety.
Well, they were pretty nervous because like in the United States, it was way different. Like the scenario here was way different than back home. So of course they were, like my mom was afraid that people may not be taking it seriously and so on. But I feel like they got used to it very quickly.
The decision to begin in-person classes at Ouachita has surely impacted the entire student body for the better, as the school is known for its loving, Christ-like community. Yet, for students like Hamza, the motivations are twofold. In addition to being a part of the OBU community, he desires to use his time here to create and leave a legacy much greater than himself.
I just want to leave a good image of what a Moroccan citizen can be, and yeah, I guess to leave a good footprint here.
But not every Ouachita student has been able to start their educational journey in person on campus this fall. Isabella Bejarano from Bogota, Colombia, started as a freshman this year majoring in education and psychology, but from the living room of her home over 2,000 miles away.
So I haven't been able to move in yet, obviously, so I would guess that's the biggest impact. And also my country's borders have been closed since March until August 31st. And so the embassy and like where you get your passport and everything, that's all been closed as well since March. So I haven't been able to get all my paperwork done, even if I wanted to.
Isabella has also faced strict restrictions in her home country, including the wearing of masks and overnight curfews.
So one of the regulations that I don't think is very common in other countries is called pico y cédula. There's not really a translation for that, but basically what it means is that everybody here after you turn 18 has an ID number. And so at first, the regulation was that women went out on one day, like on even days, and then men went out on odd days. But then it changed to pico y cédula, which means that the last digit of your ID number, like if it matches the day, so like for example, if the last digit of your number is an 8, you can't go out on any even day.
While her date of arrival is still uncertain, she is more than excited to begin life on campus at Ouachita, a school that she describes to have a community like no other.
I felt led by God in many different ways, more than any other school. So that's why I decided to come. And then just as I've been involving myself even more in the process, when I was applying and everything, I was able to just like really see what a loving community is in Ouachita. So as a person who is coming from another country, knowing that you will be received well is really important. And so that was really special to me to decide to come to Ouachita.
While nothing is promised, all members of the student body are encouraged to maintain levels of sanitation, as well as to wear a mask and practice social distancing in order for students of all backgrounds to be able to study on campus, a place where memories are made and lifelong friendships are developed.
May we continue to hold on to the hope that we can stay on campus this semester alongside our fellow international students. This is Brianna Watson signing off from the Ouachita News Show.
We are all so proud of our international students, and we'll provide updates on their situation as the semester progresses.
With the 2020 election quickly approaching, the Democratic Party has chosen Joe Biden as its presidential candidate, along with his running mate Kamala Harris as their vice presidential candidate. Donald Trump and Mike Pence will be making a reappearance as the Republican Party's nominees for president and vice president, respectively. Caroline Massey interviewed Madison McGee, president of Ouachita's College Republicans, and Maddie Rawls, president of Ouachita's Young Democrats, about the upcoming election.
I have many thoughts about the current election season. I feel that this election and this year in particular will go down in history for a multitude of reasons. The significance is that no matter which candidate wins, Joe Biden, you will have elected the oldest president, or Donald Trump, you will have elected the only president to win re-election with an impeachment scandal. Both very important things that will go down in history. A formula for determining presidency can be looked at the economy. Right now, under Donald Trump, you have the lowest unemployment rate in 60 years, the highest household median income ever, and the wage gap is rising increasingly, very fast. Yet, Joe Biden is winning in the polls right now. But either way, you'll have made history with whoever candidate you wins. My biggest piece of advice to all voters is to do your research. Research from social media and a lot of news outlets are not reliable sources. This is a very emotionally fueled election, and my biggest piece of advice is to put aside those feelings, look at what each candidate is really standing for, look at the history of the presidency and its role that it's impacted as a nation, and that's how you should go into it before casting your vote.
With everything that's been thrown our way, all of the different issues, every issue that needs to be solved that's either been ongoing or is new is here and ready to have help. And so this election
whether we want it to be or not, is a really important one, and one that everybody needs to be, here for. This election will be one that is really important and one that, will go down in the books. We're in the time where we just need help, and from our nation's leaders, we need someone that will help with those problems going into next year. My biggest advice would be to get educated, and the best way to do that is, not to rely on what you see on Twitter or what you see on the news and hear from anchors or hear throughout the hallways, but to go to reliable sources online. Don't listen to the slander, and it's, somewhat, you need to know the background of everybody, but, it's good to Google and look up, the different policies for each candidate so that you know exactly what they want to do and figure out what you want them to do. You just want to be an informed voter, but informed in the right way.
Remember, it's important that you vote. Election Day is Tuesday, November 3rd, but if you're voting by mail, you need to request your ballot as soon as possible. In most states, the deadline for requesting mail-in ballots is Tuesday, October 27th, but be sure to check the rules for absentee and mail-in ballots for your state.
On a less serious note, Ouachita has an awesome rock climbing facility, and if you haven't been, now is the perfect time. Hannah Hickman has a story on how Ouachita's Rec Life is providing safe ways for students to have fun.
The past week brought the reopening of the Crag, which stands for Climbing, Rentals, and Gear. Shane Seaton has had to adapt and create additional safety measures in order to follow new COVID-19 guidelines.
Yeah, when we shut down in March, we had a great spring lineup planned because it's like, hey, it's almost warming up and we'll get outside, and then we were unable to. We've had to adopt a few safety measures, of course, to follow the COVID precautions, and so for actually climbing in the crag, before we come in, of course, we don't have the symptoms, and then when we come in, we use hand sanitizer, and then because climbing is very much a tactile sport, you're touching the things, we make sure to hand sanitize before we climb and after. We are wearing masks even while climbing, which is a little bit difficult because you do kind of get your heart rate up some, but because your mouth is so close to what people are touching, it's important to do that. We actually had to research cleaner that wouldn't affect the integrity of the webbing because you don't want a harness to break, and so we had to research and find there's a rope company did studies on cleaners for stuff, and so we found out that this will not degrade the harness and make it lose strength. Yeah, we've had really good numbers. We did have to restrict our occupancy, and so I was afraid that people would walk all the way across campus and step in and say, oh, there's too many people. But that hasn't happened. If we see that it is starting to happen more often, the Rec Life app actually has a capacity counter that we can edit, and so people, before they walked across campus, they could look and say, oh, how many people are in there? Hey, my group will fit. And so, but luckily this week, we've had good numbers and people coming in and climbing, but it hasn't been over capacity.
The Crag Center is located behind Bill Vining Arena in Speck and is open Monday through Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m.
Well, that's all for now, Ouachita. Be sure to follow us on Instagram @Ouachita News and @Ouachita Weather Watch.
Stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy, Tigers. We'll see you next week with more of the latest Ouachita news.